Hi, I'm Jessica Harmson. Across Australia, the number of road deaths has been in slow and steady decline. But this year, the state of South Australia has already recorded 60 road deaths. And if that trend continues, the state will record the highest toll in more than a decade. ABC News in South Australia has been taking an in-depth look at the mounting toll. Our story begins with the long-lasting impact of road trauma. In 2007, teenager Logan West was killed when a car driven by his best mate crashed. Now, for the first time, that young driver has joined the West family in warning of the ripple effect of dangerous driving.
Logan West was a passionate 17-year-old, passionate about music, footy, and just like his dad, fast cars. Brett West makes a living fixing high-performance vehicles. Now, a constant reminder of how he lost his son 12 years ago.
It's just always there. It's a bit like a screensaver, you know. The second you turn off whatever it is you're working on a computer, you've got a screensaver there. It never disappears.
Time is now measured by an indelible mark in your life that says everything that happened beforehand and everything that happened since.
Wendy and Brett were expecting Logan home for dinner when they heard the deep thud. Outside, just metres from their Merino home, Logan was trapped in the passenger seat of the wreck.
He was what I would describe as alive, eyes open, conscious but not there. He was unable to speak and his body wasn't moving at all. He was there but not there.
The car was speeding out of control when it left Lonsdale Road, ran up an embankment, took out a tree and slid to a halt in the clearing.
I was just holding lights and trying to assist and talking to him, but of course he wasn't responding. I'm sure he was aware of my husband and I being there at the time, which was important, I think. Double-edged sword, of course. And then at a particular point, my husband said, "Tell him you love him." And I thought, well, why is he telling me that? Why is he telling me to say that? And then suddenly my mind thought, oh no, this is it. Is he going to die? I kissed him and he was cold. But it was too late.
Logan's best mate Stephen was behind the wheel that night. He'd floored it on the final stretch of road home.
It was very vague, fast. Well, it felt fast anyway, so yeah. I do remember kind of losing control and then I woke up with just people everywhere.
Because Stephen was a minor, we've concealed his identity. The youth court convicted him of death by dangerous driving.
It will always be there and it's powerful and very hard to deal with at times, yeah.
He received a suspended sentence and a 10-year driving ban, which finished last year.
I took my time getting back into it and it's been very, very hard. I've had counselling and things like that, so I don't like to drive by myself just because I think of things and yeah, it's hard.
Brett and Wendy have long forgiven Stephen and remain in touch. But like so many parents who lose a child, their marriage didn't survive. Now they're just wanting to stop their tragedy becoming someone else's.
The person in the car who's looking at their phone or doing something on the dash or turning their eyes from their direction, you need to focus. There's one task you have when you're driving and that is to drive.
And when you get behind the wheel, you're driving a lethal weapon. Know that and take that seriously.
At the end of 2018, police were congratulating South Australians on a record low toll for the year. But within days, fatalities started to rise. And at the end of May, the year-to-date road toll was at a 9-year high. Some researchers believe the current road safety strategy can only take the road toll so low, and that we need to change the way we think about road safety. Casey Briggs reports.
From an all-time low to the worst spike in the country, South Australia's road toll is up sharply compared to the past 5 years, worse than any other state. Victoria's also seen a jump, but not as high. And every death on the roads means another family, another group of friends, another entire network of people who lose a loved one. Around 4 trauma patients end up at the Royal Adelaide Hospital every day. 1/3 of those are seriously injured.
That's correct. This is a resuscitation area.
A lot of them are self-inflicted if they are driving and or using drugs.
We'll get an urgent chest x-ray then.
I think we need fluids, Maddie.
Can we get the hemorrhage starter pack, please? We need to start a blood transfusion for this patient. We need to...
When we know that there's a big trauma patients coming in, they usually will give us a warning about 5-10 minutes beforehand from the ambulance services.
Chest rise.
All right, Martin, tell me what's happening to the patient.
Yeah, it's a 27-year-old multi-trauma patient.
So depending on the critical nature of the patient coming in, it could be between 5 to 10 doctors and nurses helping to stabilise the patient in emergency.
Okay, prepare him to go to theatre. I'll make sure the rest of the theatre is ready.
Thank you, Fu.
The resuscitation room is always a very busy place. It is not frustrating for us, but more disappointing for me to see that this is an ongoing problem, because it's a preventable injury that we could avoid completely.
Can you just have a listen?
We've got an inherently unsafe system and it's poised to spiral out of control.
This year in SA, motorcyclist deaths have increased 200% compared to the past 5 years. Deaths in truck and bus crashes are up around 350% on the same period. And pedestrians are also dying in greater numbers, up around 175%.
We do a lot to try to influence the probability of a crash happening, the likelihood of a crash happening, but we haven't really focused much on the consequences of crashes and just minimising the harm that comes from those.
Despite this year's jump, the road toll has been trending downwards for decades, a huge success story. This year's increase might prove to be a temporary blip, but getting to zero is easier said than done.
You can see there the deflection, it's a central impact with the bonnet there.
Associate Professor Jeremy Woolley is a safety researcher who's adamant if we want to drive the road toll down further, enforcement of driver behaviour is not the only answer, because human error can never be eliminated. He says quality of vehicles and roads are central to any solutions.
If it had been a Firestar vehicle, maybe they would have survived the crash. What was the quality of the road they were on? Was the intersection adequately designed?
Around 2/3 of fatalities are on country roads, and it's not out-of-towners passing through, it's mostly locals. Police say around 3/5 of people who die in the country are within 50 kilometres of their own home.
If you look at your phone or you're distracted for 3 seconds in a 100-kilometre-an-hour environment, you've travelled almost 100 metres.
It might not be popular, but researchers say one way to instantly cut the number of cars being written off on the roads is to drop speed limits.
These speed limits were set many decades ago when we didn't have the type of knowledge on safety that we do these days. And with this new knowledge, we should really be revisiting and looking at speed corrections in the system.
Some of the quieter roads in our country roads are quite narrow, quite uneven, lots of hazards.
But with a vast network of country roads across the state, that's an expensive problem to fix.